Good day, ladies and gentlemen. I want to start by telling a bit of a personal story, so just bear with me. Last year, I decided to participate in this public speaking competition. My knees were shaking, my voice trembled, and my hands went all sweaty. My body reacted very much like it's doing right now. But all that shaking and sweating eventually led me to winning that public speaking competition. And a few days after the competition itself, word had gotten out in my school about me winning. And one of my teachers approached me with his big eyes and an open mouth, and he said, "Wow, and you're a girl." Now, I'm still not entirely sure if that was actually a question or if my shock to his reaction just made me answer with his dumbfound, "Yes." And now, some of you might ask, what exactly was wrong with that comment? But then I would have to answer with another question. Why does that matter? Was that really what struck him throughout my story? And would he have had the same reaction if I were a boy? The answer is simple. No. According to the Global Gender Gap Report, Iceland, my home country, is now for the 4th consecutive year #1 in closing the world's gender gap, followed by other Nordic countries such as Finland, Norway, and Sweden. A fact that we Icelanders take immense pride in, and some even believe that this means that we have reached full equality. But if the country that is #1 on that list cannot produce better social equality than women having an unexplainable 10% lower income than men, then I can't help but feel disappointed. Disappointed that we have not come further in the fight for equality. And I'll admit, at first I felt a bit ashamed for feeling that way. I was being ungrateful for the privileges that I do enjoy. But then I thought to myself, if I force myself to feel content with the situation as it is, then how do we ever reach full equality? And does the fact that my country is #1 in closing the world's gender gap mean that I should just close my eyes to the rest of the world? Women account for 70% of the population living in absolute poverty and 80% of all refugees and displaced people. The normal ratio of births is 950 girls per 1,000 boys. In some regions of India, however, the number of girls for every 1,000 boys is as low as 300. And why? Because tens of millions of girls have been killed, aborted, or neglected due to their gender. Sheryl Wu Dunn, the first Asian American reporter to win a Pulitzer Prize, said, "In the last half-century, more girls were discriminated to death than all of the people killed on all of the battlefields in the 20th century." Shocking. Can you imagine? All the girls who could have led a prosperous life, contributed to their own society and to the world, dead. Because of society's belief that women are inferior to men. But no, it's not all numbers and facts so depressing you really, really wish they weren't real. From being pulled by the hair by cavemen to gaining the right to vote to more women than ever graduating from universities, women's rights have come a long way. And an old saying goes, it takes 3 generations to make a musician. The first to leave poverty, the second to go to school, and the third to master the instrument. And now, I personally believe that this metaphor could be applied to all human rights battles. Regarding women's rights, we have gotten through that first stage. Civil and political rights have been granted to women in most places of the world. So according to the metaphor, we have left poverty. And nowadays, we live in that second stage, dealing with the social and cultural rights of women. We may believe it's in our hearts that equality is the right thing, but we will remain in that second stage until we can stop knowingly and unknowingly questioning a person's abilities based on their gender. And only then can we say that we have moved on to stage 3 and start mastering the instrument. And then there's always the question of how. How do we leave school and start mastering the instrument? I personally believe that there are 2 main elements that should be addressed. #1, education. In order for us to leave school, we literally have to go to school. And did you know that there's a strong correlation between a country's gender gap and its national competitiveness? Simply because a country's national competitiveness depends significantly on whether and how it utilizes half of its resources, women. And no, ladies and gentlemen, we are not free from responsibility simply because women are being educated in our countries. That just means that we are what I like to call the lucky ones. We have the ability of giving back. We have the ability of educating others about the benefits of educating women. So yes, we do still have a say in this one. And then there's main element number 2. And this is probably where we in this room play the biggest part. Awareness and standing up. Kavita Ramdas, the former president and CEO of the Global Fund for Women, said, "Feminism, unlike almost every other social movement, is not a struggle against a distinct oppressor. It's not the ruling class. It is against a deeply held set of beliefs and assumptions that we women far too often hold ourselves." You see, believing that something is right doesn't always mean that that's the way it goes down. Therefore, we have to be aware of the injustice that takes place in the world and stand up for our beliefs if we ever want to see a balanced world. My teacher's reaction and, quite frankly, stupid statement is not the reason for my speech here today. The reason why I stand here before you is because I feel ashamed for my own reaction. I mean, his ignorance does not override the fact that I did in no way stand up to him or even try to correct him. And I know it may not sound like such a big deal to you now. I mean, what difference does one uncorrected man make? But as a matter of fact, our world is ruled by little else than thoughts and ideas, and it is in our power to change it. And only through the courage of speaking out and the power of education can we move forward to an equal and just society. Thank you.